people. So, my friend Stella, that also goes Starway to Game, asked me about my reading experience with my mom. I mentioned my Granny Vigilante videos that I am reading uh, with my mom, Granny Vigilante, and that Granny Vigilante is not a book that there is in Portuguese, which is the language my mom speaks. My mom speaks Portuguese. So I simultaneously translate, which is not a job very different from what an interpreter would do. Uh, when you go to a conference or something and someone is speaking a language that you don't know, there's sometimes an interpreter, someone who translates simultaneously into an earpiece the other person is saying. We see that a lot in the news. So it's not a very different job, except I don't have the time constraint to have to pay attention to what someone is saying and translating at the same time. I can read and take my time. But Stella thought I mentioned it to Stella and I mentioned it to my therapist, and they both thought the concept very interesting of reading to someone a book that's not in their language as quality time and stuff. So I thought spending some quality time with your loved one, reading a book that is in a language that you can understand and they cannot. So I thought I would talk a bit about that. I read to my mom a lot. My mom likes to be read to because she doesn't read very fast. She isn't like she isn't a very fast reader. She doesn't have now she is a little bit older. She has to read glasses and is tired out mentally. So she likes when I read to her. Um, and I like to read out loud as a way to spend quality time with her. So I started reading to her as a little kid. Whatever book I was reading, I would read out loud to her. And you guys um probably can hear it in my voice, but I have a speech impediment. Uh, I slur a little bit. So I think my mom thought it was a good idea to let me read out loud, and she has no trouble understanding me, so she's a good target audience. But I can read out loud to anybody because they don't understand what I'm saying. Um, and I enjoy this process. So if you find someone that is willing to listen to you read um, something that's not in our language, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be fast. So I brought a book I like. This is Senhora. It's a Brazilian book. It's by this author José de Alencar. It's a 19th century romance book, and it's like pretty much the only romance book I love. I romance and me don't get along very well, but I love this one. And I'm going to read. It's in Portuguese. I don't think there is a translation to English. I've looked. I haven't found it, but I love it. It's like probably my favorite book in the Brazilian canon. So I thought I would show what the experience is like of having me read from one language to another by reading the first chapter of Senhora in Portuguese. So we start. So when you're reading to someone on a wind, some things are hard to explain, but this one would be hard even if I were translating written. Let's start with this title, Senhora. Senhora is a word that has many meanings. It means madam or lady, or it can mean a person who, a woman who is in a position of power, an older woman, a married woman. Um, it has this implication of power and status, and this title is very good because the book um, carries all these meanings. So this book, if you never read Senhora, is about this lady um, called Aurelia Camargo. There is a young lady that inherited a fortune, and she's very realistic about inheriting a fortune, that they are not gonna let her, a girl of good breeding, remain single for long. It's in the 19th century. It's a 19th century book written in the 19th century. So she has to find a husband, and she knows who she wants to marry, and she knows he's a bit of a financial trouble. So she decides to buy her husband. And um, I think the chapters, they are named after business transactions, after stages of a business transaction, and the book is divided in parts. So I thought I might read to you guys um, the piece where it all goes down. So rather than Fernando married, she gives no indicative that anything is wrong. Last time they have history, last time they saw each other, um, they were in love, and he broke his commitment to her. To her, to he needed money. She was poor last time they saw each other, and he needed money. So they married. It's the wedding night, and she goes to the wedding chamber, and there's a lot of flowery language about how pretty she is, describing the gold sash with which she ties her robe and stuff. And then we have um, you took too long, Aurelia, he complained. I had a promise to feel. I wanted to emancipate me, to belong to my one and only Lord, she replied, flirting. Don't kill me with happiness, Aurelia. What else can I desire in this world than to live at your feet, loving you, adoring you, because you are my goddess on earth. Theseus knelt at the feet of his bride, took her hands that she didn't take away, and and changed his song of love, this sublime ode of the heart that only women understand, like only mothers realize the, the child's babbling. The woman with the back um, in the chair, the head bowed and the eyes filled with a love. Listen to the talking of her husband. She was she was dived. She was submersed in the currents of love that he passed with his piercing gaze. The passionate gesture. So it's true you love me. You doubt, Aurelia? And you have loved me always since the first day we saw each other. Haven't I told you already? So you haven't ever loved another person. I swear to you, Aurelia, these lips had never touched the face of another woman that wasn't my mother. My first kiss of love. I saved it for my wife, for you. He rose to reach for her face, and didn't saw the sudden transformation that had operated in the physiognomy of his bride. Aurelia was livid, and her beauty, radiant moments ago, had turned to marble. Or of someone else richer, she said, retracting herself to run away from the kiss of her husband, and pushing him away with the tip of her fingers. The voice of the woman had taken the crystal timbre echo of um, sternness of the feeling that that took her. What seemed to harden her lips like steel. Already, what is the meaning of this? We are playing a comedy. We both have played our roles with extreme ability. We can have this prize that the best actor wouldn't surpass us. But this time, we put an end to this cruel mystification. With we are making fun of each other mutually, sir. We must enter a reality far better than it might be, and resign each one to which they are. I, a betrayed woman, and you, um, what man? What? Exclaimed Seixas, wounded inside his soul. But, yes, there's no other name. So here, when I read into my mind, I generally make this note. So, um, she uses the word vendido. Vendido is a word of hard translation. It means botman in this case. Um, it means he is cheap and he can be bought by money, so he doesn't have much character. So I make little notes like this when I'm reading to my mom. Well, yes, but don't have another name for it. I'm rich, very rich. I am millionaire. I needed a husband. Thing, indispensable thing to honest women. You were in the market. I bought you. It costed me 100 contos de reais. It was cheap. You didn't know your value. I would give twice, thrice, all my riches for this moment. Aurelia said these words, unfolding a paper in which Seixas recognized the contract he had signed with her uncle. You can't express the sarcasm that left this lady's lips, or the indignation that leaked from this soul profoundly revolted in the unforgiving look with which she whipped her husband's visage. Seixas, wounded by the cruel insult, thrown from the ecstasy of happiness to this um, grief of humiliation, had been surprised. Afterwards, when the irritation took his soul, when the irritation left his soul, he put this powerful feeling took over this powerful feeling of respect to the woman that seldom abandoned the man of good education. Penetrating of the impossibility of retribute the outrage of the lady he had loved, he listened um, stark still, cogitating what he should do: kill her, or kill himself, or kill both. Aurelia, as if she could um, divine her thought, was for some time counting him with with disdain. Now, my husband, if you want to know the reason why I bought you with a preference to any other, I will tell you. And I ask you, you don't interrupt me. Let me express what I have inside my soul, and that uh, for 1 year has been making me bitter and consuming me. The woman pointed to stations to a nearby chair. Sit, my husband. With this tone excruciating that the woman said, my husband, out of her stern lips, it came as a dart, covered of caustic irony. Stacia sat. He was dominated by the strange fascination of this woman and the incredible situation he had been taken to. So, as you saw, there's a lot of stuttering. In Portuguese, there's a lot of stuttering as well. There are some words that are difficult translation that if I was translating to um, in writing, I would spend some more time thinking about it. Sometimes I have translated before um, a few words. Sometimes I spend the whole day thinking, what am I gonna do with this thing to find an equivalent in Portuguese. But when you're reading to someone, you don't have much time. I maybe stutter a little more in English because it's not my first language, and I might have said some words that aren't actually words in English. So this is the moment where your reader comes in and asks you, what does that mean? And you answer, and sometimes you don't remember the word in the target language, and you do some charades with your reader until everybody gets what's being said. So it's a way to spend quality time together with my mom and to have her have access to things she wouldn't have access to otherwise. Um, but it might not work with someone who is like, I want to see the beauty with which this language expresses things, because you are doing it like you are doing it instant and you don't have much time to think. Each book is different. Like this one is very different because it's a 19th century book. It has very dated things, so you might have to translate some concepts to your audience. It's a little bit like historically passing things down with oral tradition. Like, so some things I have changed what it says because I thought it would make more sense to translate the concept to you than what it actually says. In Granny Vigilante, that is the book series I'm reading to my mom, we have a lot of jokes that don't translate well, and I often have to explain to my mom what is the joke without having an equivalent to translate. For instance, Granny Vigilante, we had today a place called Taco No because the tacos of this place are sort of bogus. They will give you diarrhea. And that's a bit difficult to translate. Like, because the expression for oh no in Portuguese is like, I know. It finishes with an it starts with an A. So it doesn't. So you sort of have to explain, tipo, like, I switch to Portuguese a little bit there. Um, you sort of have to translate things. Like, there was this place that I didn't quite manage to translate today. There was a bar called Liquor. I hardly know her. And there's not really a translation for this in Portuguese. So the joke, so I sort of told my mom, okay, there is a joke here. Literally, the translation is this. It doesn't make sense in Portuguese. It's not important. It's just a joke that doesn't translate. But sometimes you get good jokes that you can translate, like that are sort of universal, and they are not ones involving language. And Granny Vigilante is such a book that's funny enough that even with the jokes that I can't translate, there's plenty of jokes that my mom laughs a lot while I read her this book. So yeah, if you wanted to know how it was reading to my mom in another language, it's basically that. If you know another language and have someone willing to listen, it's a good way to have bonding. A good bonding session. Yeah. So that's all I got to say. See you guys next video.